We wanted to get your reaction about this Russian reversal. So it turns out sources say that Hillary Clinton's campaign teamed up with the DNC and they helped pay for that dossier on President Trump. What's your reaction?
Well, you know, it amazes me. For a year, the Democrats have been whining and saying they lost because of the Russians. Now it looks like it's really their subterfuge, their ideas. They're buying this dossier. But also, you know, there are rumors that the leaks that went to WikiLeaks on all the Clinton emails came from the Democrats as well. So it's kind of funny. Everything they've blamed on Republicans, it looks like maybe they were the ones responsible for.
Sure. And Senator, remember a couple of months ago when it was revealed that Donald Trump Jr. had a meeting with these people with a Russian connection in hopes of finding some dirt on Hillary Clinton. Ultimately, it doesn't sound like they got any dirt on Hillary Clinton, but at the same time, she was actually financing the dossier about his father.
Over $5 million.
Well, you know, campaigns all do opposition research on both sides, but the problem is that it's distracting a whole country. We're spending millions and millions of dollars on committee investigations, special prosecutors, all because Hillary Clinton can't admit that she lost because she was a bad candidate.
Right. And Senator, lastly, there was a Republican, they say, started this investigation with Fusion GPS, and it was Hillary Clinton and the DNC who spent the big money to keep it going. Do you know who that Republican was?
It wasn't me, but I don't know who it was. It might have been one of the other primary candidates. There were 16 of them. All I can say is it wasn't me.
Right. Can we talk about some of the drama yesterday? First off, your reaction to Senator Corker going after President Trump before the big meeting on taxes, and then Senator Jeff Flake did this on the Senate floor after the meeting. Let's listen.
There are times when we must risk our careers in favor of our principles. Now is such a time to announce that there must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by a president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American public. Reckless, outrageous, and undignified behavior has become excused and countenanced as telling it like it is, when it is actually just reckless, outrageous, and undignified. And when such behavior emanates from the top of our government, it is something else. It is dangerous to a democracy.
Senator Paul, who's right?
It's not running.
Is he doing the right? Is the president dangerous to democracy?
You know, I have a different take on this. I try to keep it more about policy. And look, I've been willing to go and stand toe-to-toe with the president when I disagreed with him on policy, but I also am willing to support the president when I agree with him on policy, like on cutting taxes. I think the president's one of the boldest people we've had in the White House in a long time on cutting taxes, and I'm going to support him there. It doesn't mean I'll always support him, but I try not to make it about personalities or, you know, someone saying someone has less of a perfect character than they do. That's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black, is that we tend to think, oh, somehow, you know, I'm so perfect that I can criticize another person's character. One of the things the media's missed on all this, they keep saying, well, Senator so-and-so is a conservative. Why is there such a disagreement? Well, because we've made this about personalities and less about policy. I think if we can stay on policy, look, I have had honest disagreements with the president, and yet I'm still on very good terms with the president because I treat the person and the office with respect, but I also am willing to go toe-to-toe if there's a policy disagreement. But I think we really need to be concentrating, and people need to not forget that people elected us because we supposedly were for repealing Obamacare, which didn't work out, and we're supposedly for lower taxes. So I'm all in on cutting taxes, making taxes lower, and I'm going to work with the president on it, and I'm going to try to avoid any kind of ancillary things that I think really are less important than the policy.
Well, he was joined on the floor by Senator John McCain and Senator Bob Corker, and then Mitch McConnell said this right after that speech. He said, "We just witnessed a speech of a very fine man." What is your message to those four individuals, to those four senators?
Well, look, everybody has their own opinion on what is the best decorum, how we should present each other, ourselves, and how we should interact with the country and the public at large. And I'm not here to criticize any of them really for what they think is the best way. But I think actually that it would be better if we concentrated on policy, because I think people at home would like a tax cut. People at home would like to keep American jobs here and try to lower corporate taxes so those companies don't go overseas. I think to the American people that's more important than all the personalities. I think this is more of like a People magazine saga than it really ought to be more about policy and what's the best way to lead the country.
Yeah, because frankly, if you don't live in Tennessee or you don't live in Arizona, you really don't know much about those senators anyway. You're absolutely right.
Sure.
They want to focus on tax reform.
By the way, 39 minutes ago, the president tweeted the reason Flake and Corker dropped out of the Senate race is very simple. They had zero chance of being elected, so act so hurt and wounded. All right, Senator, you just mentioned taxes. It sounds like tomorrow the House is going to vote on the Senate budget blueprint. Next stop, it looks like a fast track on taxes. There are a lot of details we just don't know about. We know the president and y'all want things simplified and to give the middle class a tax break, but the rest of the details, and there are going to be a lot of them, we don't know a lot.
The details are important, and that's why I've been advocating very loudly for the last couple of weeks, personally to the president, personally to the budget director, and to the American people at large, that if you keep the middle rate 25% the same, but you get rid of big deductions, you could have a tax increase. And so the president has assured me he won't let that happen. He's told his people not to let it happen, but I'm going to continue to watch and advocate as it goes through the committee process in the House and the Senate, because if you have a big tax increase on those in the middle and have a tax reduction on the bottom and the top, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm going to still continue to advocate to have the biggest, boldest tax cut we can get, return the money to its rightful owners, those who earned it, and the economy will boom. The president believes, and I agree with him on this, you could have 4-5% GDP growth. Under Reagan, we had 7% GDP growth one time after a tax cut. If you return money to those who earn it, and you put the money back into productive use, the government's non-productive use, the people are the productive use. If you return the money to the people, you'll get growth like we haven't seen in decades.
Senator, give me an idea, if I'm middle class and I'm watching you right now, what deductions are you looking for that you think if they are eliminated, they're going to hurt those in the middle?
I am open to eliminating deductions as long as you adjust the rate down. For me, the number one conservative principle is that just about everybody's going to get a reduction in their taxes. If you tell me in the middle that, oh, your taxes are going up, but we got this great reform, I'm less inclined to believe it's a great reform if my taxes go up. So I think the first principle is make sure everybody's taxes go down. The president's with me on this, but the reason you have to ride herd on these people is there are some people in Washington that are consumed with, oh, it would be a great policy to get rid of the income tax deduction, your state income tax. And I can be persuaded of that only if the taxes are going down overall. If you tell me, oh, it's a great policy, but we're raising taxes, that's a problem. So I continue to advocate with the Finance Committee and Ways and Means, and anybody who will listen in Washington, make sure number one conservative principle is we have across-the-board tax cuts.
Can we get this done by Thanksgiving?
I'm very hopeful we get it done this fall. I don't know if Thanksgiving, but I think the sooner the better. You saw what happened with Obamacare. The longer it was debated, the more weak knees we got, and the more people forgot what it meant to be Republicans. They forgot their promise to repeal Obamacare. And I'm afraid if we discuss taxes to death, that some Republicans may also forget that they're actually for less taxes.
All right, Senator Rand Paul, you've got a lot to do. You better go work.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, sir.